Preview season takes us back to the state of Texas. Today it's all about the Texas A&M Aggies and really Mike Elko year 2. What are they going to look like out there in College Station? We'll talk about all that and more here upcoming on Armchair Analysis. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for the support over the last couple of months. This preview season has really been a big spike in the channel in terms of growth and subscribers. I'm just really appreciative, honestly. I know a lot of that stuff comes off as sappy, and I try not to do it as much as I can, but it is super important to me to make sure that it's known that it is appreciated, because I don't do this to get paid. I just do it for fun, and to know there's other people that tune in and are we're starting to build a bit of a community around here. It's just really cool to me and means a lot. So thank you all for tuning in. If you are new here, leave a like, subscribe, comment down below. We're in the midst of preview season where we preview every single Power 5 school, Power 4, I suppose, including Notre Dame, 68 total. And we've been doing it every day since June 1st. We did miss one day. So is it really every day? Yeah, because I'm only missing one day out of 68. So 68 teams in 69 days, okay? Nice. But that's what we're doing here. So make sure you stick around and again, subscribe, because then you get to see everything. You can see every single preview we've done from back at Florida State on June 1st till today, not September 11th, July 11th. If it was September 11th, I'd be happy, because being college football season, we'd have football if it was September 11th. We got some games that night. But no, it's July 11th, which is 7-Eleven day. As a matter of fact, I went to 7-Eleven this morning. Didn't even know they did the free Slurpee thing, but I went there on my way back from work and just so happened to realize that's what day today was. So anyways, without any further interruptions or hesitation, let's talk about Texas A&M. This team last year went 8-4 in the regular season. They ended up closing it out at 8-5, 5-3 in conference play. They averaged 30.4 points per game, and that's even with quarterback changes. Of course, Connor Wegman was a starter to begin the year. It then transferred over to Marcel Reed after a Wegman injury. And truth be told, Colin Klein never looked back with the offense to go back to Connor Wegman. He stuck with Marcel Reed, and it worked out over the course of time. It was not necessarily the greatest thing in the world. It had its moments, and I think that this year we're going to see similar. I'll explain a little more later. But overall, 30.4 points per game, that's 50th in college football. They allowed 22.2 points per game, that was 35th. Turnover margin per game was plus 0.3, that's 47th in college football. 9th ranked recruiting class, 11th ranked portal class. They did everything they needed to do to stay competitive and really even take that step forward. How far forward? Because this is not necessarily a light schedule. They do get LSU on the road, Arkansas on the road, and this, just because this game rivalry is tough to win, that's going to be an interesting game. At Texas at the end of the year is going to be tough, especially given that rivalry's back. South Carolina, you get at home. Florida, you get at home. Auburn, not knowing what they're going to be at home, and then you go on the road and face Notre Dame as well. What can this team really be? Well, year 2 under Mike Elko, year 2 with Colin Klein, year 2 with Jay Bateman. This is pretty much the same staff returning to do it again. This team returned 7 starters offensively, and as a matter of fact, I think that number does count Marcel Reed, but they bring back Marcel Reed. They bring back Le'Veon Moss, who's going to be a big deal in this offense. That backfield, I think, is going to be a really big, strong point for this offense as time goes on. At wide receiver, they bring in KC Concepcion, or Kevin Concepcion, however you want to go about it, from NC State. Terry Bussey's returning and expected to be a bigger part of this offense, the true sophomore this year. Mario Craver, going to be an interesting one, as is Isaiah Williams, who's coming in, he's a sophomore as well as Bussey. Those two guys, alongside Nate Borkircher, Amari Nyblack, whoever the starting tight end is out of those two, I'm leaning Nyblack out of pure experience perspective. This wide receiver room, this receiving core as a whole, to include the tight ends, I think is going to be pretty solid. I'm not expecting greatness. I'm not expecting anything crazy. But I do think that as time goes on, these guys are going to get used to each other, and I think this team is going to really gel at some point in the year, and I don't know when it's going to happen or where it's going to hit where they start really picking things up. But I have some seriously high hopes. On top of that, this is a team that brings back 5 of 5 returning offensive linemen. The difference being that they have a different offensive lineman, a sophomore, Mark Nebeau, who's going to be starting at center. And that replaces, forgive me, I'm going to try this. We're going to attempt. Kulanu Feu? I tried. I'm sorry. I cannot. I'm telling you, the Polynesian names get me, and it's rough. Until I hear them a time or two, it's brutal for me. I'm sorry, but that either way, like 5 returning starters and then a true sophomore who you trust to jump in and be the anchor, the center point of the offense, the center on this offense. That is something to be said, especially since he was not the starter last year. All in all, this is a really fun team. This is a team that I think their offensive line takes steps forward, continues to build. And if that's going to be the case, if this offensive line is what we expect them to be, I think they're going to be just fine. My question mark is the inconsistency of Marcel Reed over the course of last year, turnover problems at times, just really problems leading important drives, key drives in the season. If they can build upon that, build upon efficiency offensively, this is a team that is a playoff contender. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. You guys probably have heard me say earlier that I'm not buying into A&M. It took me going through this team, looking at them and saying, you know what? I need to change my tone. I need to completely change my tone on this team. And while I still have some things that I do agree with from the original, the offense has totally changed my mind. The defense, again, Jay Bateman, year 2, returns 8 starters. And then they bring in TJ Searcy from Florida, who's going to be pretty much the notable transfer of this defense. But they bring back Torian York, who leads multiple categories: tackles for loss, returning 82 tackles, 10 tackles for loss. Cassius Howell leads the team in returning sacks. He had 4 last year. Marcus Ratliff leads the team in returning interceptions. He had 3. This team forced 16 interceptions last year, 7 forced fumbles. They are, I think, going to continue to improve. I really do. The more I look at this team, the more I see them, the more I buy in. And then I got to sit back and say, okay, is this still the 8-4? Like Texas A&M goes 8-4, and that's just what it is? Or is this Mike Elko breeding physicality, breeding a team that can go in and win in any single game they play? And I'm buying the latter notion. I've bought into Mike Elko since he was at Duke. Since he started at Duke, I was all over this. And I really can't see myself falling off of that. Because why would I? What reason do I have not to? To not buy in to Mike Elko. When I think about this team, it really goes to this. Experience is undeniable. And this was my personal take. This is not the take of, I think, the majority of college football fans. But this team could be one of the best kept secrets in the sport. Because I was underwhelmed, underperformed, underinformed maybe of what this team looked like going into this season, going into this preview. And as I look at them, I think there's a lot to love. There's a lot to love in the schedule too. There's also a lot to not like. There's some tough games. Again, I mentioned the road trips. I mentioned road trips to Arkansas, LSU, Notre Dame, Texas. They also have a road game. They're 5th against Missouri. They have 3 straight with a bye week in the middle of Arkansas, LSU, Missouri. South Carolina they host. Florida they host. Auburn they host. It's not easy. I mean, they could, if things fall off, if the wheels fall off, this is maybe a 7-5 team. But I think that there's enough here to believe that there is a chance at playoffs. Let's go ahead and take a look at the schedule, and let's go ahead and predict it, if it will. There we go. So you start off with UTSA, Utah State. Two nice games. You got Samford in that non-conference in November as well. 2, 3 should I'm going to give wins, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and throw 2 of those up right now because I do this in order. So you start off 2-0, and you go into week 3 on the road against Notre Dame. That's better than week 1, and I think it's better than week 1 for Notre Dame because CJ Carr gets a chance to really figure out where he's at. This offensive line gets to figure out where they're at, obviously, dealing with a couple injury issues. What is Notre Dame in 2025? I venture to believe championship contender. I venture to believe they are more likely to return to the national championship than they are to miss the playoff. I also believe that A&M is more likely to make the playoff than they are to go 7-5 or below. Really to hit the under here on their over-under. At the end of the day, I'm trusting the fact, and this is as simple as I can make it. Notre Dame has proven physicality on this roster all throughout. Texas A&M is building towards that, or is attempting to build towards that. And while they don't fully have it, or didn't fully have it last year, doesn't mean they can't have it this year. I'm going with what I trust, what I know, and what I've already seen. And that's Notre Dame being the more physical team. They will get the win at home in South Bend. You turn this around with a home game against Auburn, and I think that's going to be a win. I think it starts with quarterback, Marcel Reed over Jackson Arnold. It starts with coaching, Mike Elko over Hugh Freeze, so on and so forth, to get us to where A&M is going to be a favorite at home, move on. They'll beat Mississippi State. They'll be 4-1 when they go to this game against Florida. And this is one of those where I could flip at any time. I truly could flip this game at any time I want. Because as I look at it today, I want to pick A&M to win this game. As I looked at it a couple days ago, and what is it going to pop up here, because I tend to agree either way, is a Florida win. This game is going to be 50-50, coin flip, fun to watch. I'm really excited to see how these two teams match up and play against each other. Because what it could be is a matchup between one team that gets in the playoff and the losing team that does not make the playoff. That's what I think could happen here. So this game, albeit on October 11th, is going to mean the world to the SEC race, and I think to the college football playoff race. You get a road trip to Fayetteville, Arkansas to face the Razorbacks, and I think they'll get the win there. A road trip to Death Valley and face LSU, and this is another one, much like the Florida game, where I went back and forth. Now, just picking the home team is not necessarily the right thing to do, and I think there's reason to believe that this A&M team, especially their defense, can make some issues for LSU. One thing we don't know about LSU, we expect to be better, but we don't know, is the run game. They were not necessarily great. They had a lot of question marks, but Caden Durham seemed to be a bright spot who's going to return and probably be the starter, the every down back. We've seen that part. What we have not seen is consistency. We don't know how the new pieces are going to fit in. Nick Anderson, of course, coming over, amongst others, I believe. Barry and Brown is also out there. We don't know how they're going to fit in, how they're going to mesh with Garrett Nussmeier. We don't know how the LSU defense is going to look, as it did not take a step back. I think Blake Baker did a great job. I expect, as a matter of fact, a step forward, putting Harold Perkins back in the right places to make plays, really utilizing their personnel the right way. Today, I would like to say LSU wins this game. Whereas today, I would like to say Texas A&M beats Florida. I would like to say LSU beats A&M. I have those games flipped on here because this is what I put down the other day, and I'm not confident enough to change it. That's just the end of the day. I'm not confident enough to change it. So that's where we sit right now. Either way, I would still have 2 losses. I would not give them a loss to both, even though I could see it. At Missouri, comes down to this. Out of a bye week for A&M, who do I trust again at quarterback at this time of the season? Ahmad Hardy cannot carry Missouri through the entirety of the season, and I don't know that he can carry them through any portion of the season. The defense cannot carry Missouri through every game of the season. The passing game has to come into effect somewhere. Who's going to be the quarterback? Who's going to be the one who really takes over and takes charge of this QB battle? Verbula, Sam Horn are the two that I've heard the most. I'm not ruling out Matt Zollers at some point this year, but it's not likely. I'm taking A&M to win this game on the road at Furrow Field. You get a home game against South Carolina. South Carolina has tended to have the A&M number the last few years. They've just been able to do it. I don't really know what it is and what makes that happen, but South Carolina's been able to have A&M's number. I don't think it changes this year. I think there's just something about what South Carolina is doing and how they're able to affect the offense. I think it's the way they're going to play against this A&M offense to begin with and kind of slow down the Colin Klein attack. I'm taking South Carolina to win this game. This is another game that can very well change given results and what we see. I'll give them that other win. So you're sitting right now at 8-3, and you're staring Texas in the face on Friday night and DKR. So I know what you're all thinking. 8-4. Once again for A&M. I mean, it's a safe pick, right? Is 8-4? Yes, it is a safe pick. But it's not what we're going with. I'm giving them the win over Texas, and here is exactly why. We could see a world where A&M closes this back half out with 6 straight wins. We could see a world where they lose one of the last 6. I think it's either South Carolina, LSU. I don't believe they lose both. And I think that this team only gets better, especially offensively, the more Marcel Reed and KC Concepcion work together, the more that this entire offense gets time together. Amari Niblack is going to play, I think, a bigger role in this offense than we realize or we expect. And this team's going to do just enough. They're going to want it back. They were in the game last year against Texas, and they just couldn't get it done. They couldn't move the ball offensively. There is a want and I think a need in their mind to get it back. This game's already emotional. It's going to be. That's just how this rivalry is. And this is the first time they're taking a trip to Texas in a long time. It's going to be a fun game. I'm excited for it. I really am. I'm excited for this A&M season. I think they're going to be fun to watch because, again, I like Mike Elko. I am a huge fan of Colin Klein in the way that he works around what is put in front of him offensively. We watched him do it at Kansas State with Will Howard, and then Will Howard gets hurt. Avery Johnson steps in, and the offense changed. You know, between DJ Giddens and other running backs on the roster, the offense would change. Colin Klein is really good at adapting to different personnel groups. I think he's one of the most underrated coordinators in college football. This year, I think, really proves, and maybe puts him on the map for a head coaching job, but really proves why I feel that way. 9-3, and I'm going to be honest with you, I see a world of 10-2. I see a world of 7-5. Can I see 6? No. I think 7-5 is the floor. 10-2 is the ceiling, regular season. But 9-3, 6-2, with losses in these 3 games, or even at LSU, you take away that Florida loss or South Carolina loss and put LSU, and you make them close losses, A&M might just make the playoff. 9-3 was on the brink last year. 9-3 made the playoffs for Clemson, granted, different circumstance. 9-3 was on the brink and would have made the playoffs either way. We will see. We will see how 2025 plays out, but let me know what you think. Odds to win the SEC plus 1,500. National Championship odds plus 4,000. I'm not hateful to those, but it's not my pick. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you agree, disagree. Let me know what I may have missed. There's always some players that kind of come out of the woodwork and come out of nowhere for guys, especially somebody who is solo, doing all the research, all the schedule predictions, everything I do is on my own, and it's great. It's a lot of fun. But it does make it easier to miss some things. So make sure if I did miss something, if you feel like there's something that needs to be included, let me know in the comments down below. Always welcome. I love the sense, again, of community that we're kind of building here. If you're new, leave a like, subscribe, comment down below. Tomorrow, it's Mike Elko's old team, Duke. I'm excited. Manny Diaz has a squad down there this year. And this team, this prediction tomorrow might just surprise you. So make sure you stick around. Make sure you tune in to all of the Armchair Analysis episodes. Again, there's a playlist on the channel titled, ironically, Preview Season, where we are going through again every single Power 4 school to include Notre Dame in 69 days. I'm excited about it. Hopefully you guys are too. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow with the Duke Blue Devils.